modern age, because of industry, because of digitalization, we have effectively trained ourselves to be hyper consumed by everything. We have trained our mind, especially the younger generation, we have trained our mind to always be, our brain is always on mode. It's always consuming information all the time. All this stuff, all this junk. Now, there are effects that happen to the brain physically, like a reduction in gray matter, like reduced attention span. But I don't want to talk about that because most people already know about this. Especially if you're watching a video like this, most people know that sitting on your phone, watching TikTok, watching 30-second videos as fast as you can, scrolling through all of them with all this stimulus, everybody knows that's shit for you. Everybody knows that that's going to fry your brain. So I'm not going to keep talking it to death. I want to focus instead on what happens to your thoughts. And I want to ask this question to you as well. Where are your thoughts? Because this negative, irrelevant media that we consume, that's filling up space in our head, it influences how we think and perceive the world, which then in turn leads to how we behave, how we act, what judgments we make. If I'm always consuming negative content, guess what? When I go into the real world, I'm going to have negative thoughts that are going to hold me back. If I consume all this content about people saying, oh, I'm so socially awkward, I'll never get a girlfriend, I'll never be able to interact with people, like those types of posts, do you think that you're going to head into the world confident and say, okay, yeah, I'm going to ask somebody out today because, I feel like it? No. You're going to carry, even if not consciously, subconsciously, you're going to carry the same belief that, oh, I'm not going to get a girlfriend, I'm going to be this or that. Because your mind that's what it's been learning, that's what it's been consuming this whole time. You've been teaching it that this is true. And so your behavior reflects that. Your judgment and perceptions of the world reflect that. Your thoughts especially reflect that. And thoughts do not only affect judgment and behavior, but they affect mood as well. Now, this is something that I've actually learned from my mentor, who showed me a picture of this one page from his book, which talks about this vicious cycle that we get into. Thoughts leads to mood. Moods lead to more thoughts, which then leads to more mood and then more thoughts. So if we have positive thoughts per se, like for example, if we say that, if we believe that we are a winner, that like the most basic positive thought, okay, I'm a winner. That thought leads to a more confident mood, a more happy mood, which then leads to a more positive thought, which then leads to a even better mood, and then it's just a cycle of reinforcement. That's what it is. Whatever you think leads to how you feel, and then these two just reinforce each other, and that affects how you act. It affects what you do, how you lead your life. Thoughts are a lot more important than they get credit for, because how you think is going to determine where you end up. So if your mind is, you're shooting for the stars, like you are very positive, you want to, and I don't mean like corny positive, like, oh, always smiling, you wake up with this fat ass grin on your face, pretending that negativity doesn't exist, pretending that suffering doesn't exist. That's delusion and insanity. What I mean is having the positive mindset, such as believing that you can achieve things, such as believing that it's possible to change, believing that goodness, that the idyllic state is achievable, things of that nature. If you think like that, you are likely going to make it to where you want to be, spiritually, in material as well. You will be where you want to be simply because your thoughts are aligned in that direction. Likewise, if you have negative thoughts, you reinforce negative moods and more negative thoughts, and you just get into that cycle. And so when it comes to achieving fulfillment, you probably won't. You will be sad, you will be neurotic for most of your life. You won't achieve your true potential. You'll never be truly happy. And it's not because you couldn't do it. It's because your thoughts it set you in that direction. You told yourself this entire time that you were not going to make it, that you are anxious, that you are insecure. You deluded yourself into believing these falsehoods about yourself. And so you act in a way that achieves those things. And so ironically, by thinking that you are insecure, by thinking that you are all of this, all whatever, you become it. We need to make sure that we have thoughts that set us in the direction that we want to go in. 9 times out of 10, it's going to be positive. I don't know who would actively choose to have negative thoughts that puts them in a worse direction. Naturally, you want to get better. You want to be good, right? Not just immaterial, not just financially, spiritually. We want to be well off. We want to be good. So we need to have more purposeful thoughts. We need to have thoughts that move us towards our mission and not towards indulgence, which is another thing that I didn't mention. If it's not negativity, having lustful thoughts, for example, having thoughts about food, that will make us more likely to indulge in those things. Because think about it. You are here saying, like, let's say for a lot of people who are on NoFap, they will feel their urge, and instead of shifting their attention to something else, instead of feeling the desire and then thinking, okay, this is just sensory, it's not really that important, they immediately go and fantasize about whatever it is that they're into, right? Whatever kink that they've been conditioned by pornography to develop. They essentially just play around with this idea and they relapse. And they're like, oh, damn it, I should have just controlled my urge. Well, how are you going to do that if you're literally thinking about how good it's going to feel? If you're thinking about indulging. So, thoughts play a much larger role than we give them credit. But I've already talked about that. Now, we must speak about how we can have more purposeful thoughts. So the most important thing to have more purposeful thoughts is to remove the negative influences. Many times, even if we have positive influences like mentors or teachers or good friends who are spiritual, we end up being more captivated, more drained by the negative because of how strong negativity is. Naturally, we tend to focus on things that are more negative, probably because of like instinctually bad things are more important to address than good things. You know, like if there's a gang of monkeys that is gonna show up, and you know, like we hear these monkeys while we're eating the food, our attention is gonna immediately shift to the monkeys, and we're gonna forget about the food. We're gonna stop feeling hungry for a while, because yeah, it's good, but this negative thing over here, it's stronger. It's gonna cause us more harm. You get what I'm saying? So I think that relating it to the primal makes it make more sense as to why most of us are more captivated to negativity. But that's just a theory. Point is, we're mostly people are pessimistic for the most part. So we need to focus first and foremost on removing the negative influences that are going to drain us. And for many people, this isn't necessarily objects, but it's people. For most people, It's their friends who negatively influence them. It's the people who they constantly hang around that negatively influence them. And so, these are actually a lot worse than simply objects, because objects we can get rid of. We can get rid of things if they negative influence us. It's not that difficult. You throw it away somewhere far away, not on the ground, but like in the trash. You go outside, you put it in the trash can with all the fucking flies in there. You're not gonna reach in there and grab it again. Or you make it difficult to access, and you throw it away. It's gone. It's out of your environment. If your environment itself is negative, you can change it. You can get out of that environment in most cases. You can shape it in most cases. But people, we naturally have a harder time disconnecting from people because we're social animals. We just don't like getting on bad terms with anybody. We'd much rather be a people pleaser than be somebody who openly admits his discontentment with others. Because the latter seems like an asshole. We typically associate like that type of confidence to say, oh, I actually don't like you. We associate that with being an asshole instead of being normal, instead of being a regular human who doesn't just stay around people he doesn't like. Most people have this hard time with disconnecting from their friends, with getting away from these negative people. And because of that, they overcomplicate it a lot. They search up like, oh, how to, and there's videos on this. Oh, how to cut off your friends without seeming rude, without being this or that. How to have how to have the relationship end perfectly. Like, it's a lot simpler than that. All you have to do is, number one, have a reason for not wanting them around. Like, don't recite what you're gonna say to them, because in the moment you're gonna sound like really robotic and corny. But simply have an idea of why you're disconnecting with this person, of what specifically it is. Don't just say, oh, you're negative, and then leave. Right? Give them an extra, try to find out what it is specifically so that you understand better what you need to get away from, and so that you can tell him what he needs to improve on. So understand what it is specifically that makes you want to get away from him. And the next time you see them, when he reaches out to dap you up or something, to greet you, simply say, no, I'm good. And if he asks you why, you tell him why. Tell him, oh, well, it's because, we're headed in two different trajectories in life. I'm focused on self-improvement and entrepreneurship. You still smoke weed. You still follow a lot of habits that I've stopped. I don't play video games anymore. You still do. So it's not that I don't like you, but I can't sustain this friendship if I want to succeed in my life, if I want to move forward. So you could be more direct with that. You could even say like, oh, well, I'm trying to be on self-improvement, but every time I hang out, when we hang out, I find myself that I'm doing the bad habits I actually don't want to do. And so because of that, we have to end this friendship. It doesn't have to be rude. You don't need to get emotional and be like, oh, you're a piece of shit. Every time I get with you, I smoke weed and it's your fault. Fuck you. Of course he's going to respond negatively if you do that. He might even respond negatively if you tell him respectfully still. But the difference is that in the first one, it's your fault. You caused it. And in the second one, it's not. Instead of overcomplicating it, the next time he tries to greet you, say, no, I'm good. If he asks you why, explain it to him. And if he doesn't, then just walk past him. Right? You don't have to make it the super formal thing. Just distance yourself away from him. Reject his presence as a friend. Not his presence in general. Don't try to avoid him if you can. Because if you're in school, for example, and you have assigned seats, he sits next to you. Okay, fine. Don't be weird and then just act like you have to move your desk away from him. Be normal. Just sit down, act normally. But if he tries to engage in friendly conversation with you, remind him of what you told him last time. Remind him that I'm sitting here not because I'm your friend, but because I have to. Right? You have to reject his presence as a friend. So, removing negative people, all it consists of is making it known that you want these men to get away from you, that you don't want to be friends with them. And if you happen to be in the same environment as them, that's fine. But you just don't want to have that active engagement that convinces them that you guys are still cool. Now, when it comes to a negative environment, and this can be like an environment that makes you angry, an environment that is possibly even abusive, which we'll get into that in a second. But for now, I'm just going to focus on like a negative environment in the sense that like emotionally, it makes you angry, you don't feel good in this place, you're always having in a negative mood. Like let's say school. School for many people is a negative influence because they don't learn shit and it wastes a lot of time. Now, the only way to get out of this, because school is obligatory, so there's two options. Either you're already an entrepreneur, you make 10,000, 15,000, 20,000 a month, and you just decide to drop out because, dude, I make a fuck ton of money. I don't need to complete high school. If it's wasting my time, I'm just not going to do it. Or you can shift your perspective and try to be productive as you can whilst in school. So if you have a book you need to read, if you have an article you need to write, or a script for a video you need to write, then do that while you're in the building. Do that while you're in school so that you're at least using some of your time productively. And other than that, you just gotta focus on developing other skills other than your business and turn it into a positive experience. So when I'm in school, I can't record videos, but I can do three things actually. I can write, I can read, and I can practice self-control, like my philosophies. I can practice not getting emotional when I'm angry. I can practice controlling my thoughts. I can practice controlling my desires. I can practice not getting carried away by flattery. I can practice other things that are still productive, but I can't just sit there and do nothing, because if not, I actually am wasting a lot of time. So for negative environment, like somewhere like school, just do your best to shift it into a positive environment. Do your best to remove what is negative and then add in what is positive. For abusive environments, the thing that I suggest, now I haven't experienced abusive households myself, but I've seen it. I've had a friend of mine who was a little bit older than me at the time. He was 12 years old. I was 10. And he knocks on my door at 12 a.m. and says, "Yo, can I sleep over tonight? My dad is too drunk to open the door." I already asked my friend downstairs, it was like a solo friend group, and his mom said no. So can I sleep here? Point is, I haven't gone through it myself, but I've seen what the effects are. I've seen, these kids and heard them getting abused. So what I would suggest to you is find a mentor, find somebody who has gone through what you're going through. Maybe at a recovery center, maybe at school, with somebody you can trust. Because don't go to the counselor. Everybody knows this. The counselor will fucking snitch on you so hard. They will call your parents and say, "Hey, are you abusing your kid?" A counselor is literally the worst option, right? So what you need to do is find somebody who you can trust. Ask them what they did. Ask them, how did you get out of this? What would you do if you were me? And follow step by step what they tell you. If you need immediate solutions, find a place where you can stay. Find a friend's house, a mentor's house. Find somewhere where you can get out of that environment. With environments in general, you want to just get away. You want to either shift them to work in your favor, or you want to get away from them. So find out what you need to do and work towards that option. In regards to adding people, all you need to do is put yourself in communities where people are doing similar things to you. So for many people, this is the gym, right? If you want to be healthy, if you want somebody who's into fitness, either for a relationship as a significant other or for a friendship or for mentorship, a gym is the best place to go. For fitness, it could be a martial arts gym or a regular commercial gym. It doesn't matter. The point is, you want to get in that environment because it's there where you're going to find the people who actually have achieved what you want to achieve. That's where you're going to find the friends who are on the same path as you. So it's as simple as that, really. Just put yourself in communities where people are doing the things you want to achieve. And then from there, you'll end up meeting those who really are your true friends. So for this actionable step, I want you to search up communities online, be it hiking, martial arts, etc., and sign up for it. It's only in these places where you're going to find the people who are like you, where you're going to find the mentors who are going to set you in the right direction, who are going to guide you on your journey. It's only in the places where you want to be that you'll find these people. So, the most important thing you have to do to add people into your life is find the places that you want to be in. And they will be there. They will be there waiting for you. In order to succeed in your goals, you need to think how you want to act. So, if you want to be a stoic, a philosopher, if you want to be somebody who lives in nature, in order to achieve that, you need to center your thoughts around that. You need to be thinking about nature frequently. You need to shift your judgments and instinctive self to a stoic self. You need to have stoic thoughts. Whenever you catch yourself judging or indulging in fantasies, revert to a stoic mindset. Go back to what you know, to your purpose. You essentially just want to always be thinking about your purpose and your mission. You always want to be thinking about where you want to go in life, about what you want to be, about what you could be, what you have to do to achieve that. You want to have your thoughts centered around that, because if you don't, if you allow yourself to indulge in fantasies, to indulge in media, in social media, and to have your brain clouded by all this entertainment, what happens is that your brain has thoughts correlated to that. And then over time, you just become a passive consumer. You develop negative mindsets, you develop neurosis, the things that we talked about previously in this video. So, do not lose yourself in fantasies or things of the like. Instead, always try to keep that mindset of stoicism, of philosophy, of whatever your purpose and mission may be. Keep that mindset in mind at all times. Always be mindful of where your thoughts are going. Now, for many people, this will seem painful. For many people, this will seem like a chore because it's not fun, because it's not stimulating. But there are two reasons for this. Number one, because you're a hyper consumer. And number two, because you're not present enough. You see, thoughts do influence us, right? But we don't want to spend the entire day thinking, because the point of having these positive thoughts is to act. And to act, we must be present with our tasks. So, and people will view it like a chore because they spend all day fantasizing. And so all day thinking about philosophy is not only boring because philosophy is boring already to them, but also because they don't want to spend all day doing it. But that's not what I'm saying. All you want to do, what I'm saying is that whenever you are having thoughts, whenever you are philosophizing, or like let's say when you're eating, you're not consuming media, you're just eating alone, just with your thoughts. You want to have the thoughts that push you in the right direction, that move you towards closer to the goalpost. So for your actionable step, I want you to open a journal and write down what needs to be done, what your purpose is. Even if you already know it, simply write it down so that you cement it more in your subconscious, so that you know what you need to be focused on with your thoughts. And then from here on out, just don't let yourself indulge in the superficial. Don't let yourself indulge in media, in fantasies. Don't let yourself be taken off the path. It takes trial and error. It's difficult to do. I'll be releasing a full stoicism guide, which will go over addiction. That's coming out later, though. Point is, you just want to know what needs to be done so that you know what to focus on. That's all for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, like, subscribe, interact with my videos so they get more attention. Let me know in the comments what you thought. If this helped you, if it didn't help you, what I could have added to it. If you guys want to add some advice of your own, I'll probably pin your comment. And that's all. I have a Medium page. You can check that out, link in the description. And yeah, have a good day, guys.